Angel. Now, Angel was released as the third single from the Like a Virgin album. Sire and Warner Brothers were preparing to release that, and all of a sudden there was this interest in a new song called Into the Groove, which comes from Desperately Seeking Susan. So radio stations were receiving requests. MTV were playing the video of Into the Groove, and they suddenly realised that they were going to have another hit on their hands. So some clever guy at the record company had the bright idea of putting Into the Groove on the B-side of Angel, on the 12-inch only. You couldn't get Into the Groove on any of Madonna's albums at that time until it was repackaged in England later. However, this was the only way to get Into the Groove. And presto, it went to number one on the dance charts and became over 1 million selling singles on the maxi single charts on the Billboard. So they definitely knew what they were doing. It became a very popular item purely for the sake that it had two smash singles on the one disc. As you can see, the Angel has its own picture cover, and Into the Groove ties into the Desperately Seeking Susan movie on the B-side. That's a nice little item, one you'd want to get your hands on. Now we have the Mexican pressing of Angel Into the Groove. They did the same thing as the US. They titled this the Super Mix, but they were smart enough to do the same thing, obviously to help sales. This is just the backing insert for the shaped picture disc of Angel. I will be featuring the shaped discs later in another video, but for the moment this is just the backing inserts that I kept with the 12-inch single. Now, Angel in the UK did not have Into the Groove because that was released as a single in its own right later by the UK record company. So they placed Burning Up on the B-side. Now, this version of Burning Up is the version that's a little different to what most people would have heard on the album. So it's not the version here on the CD, and it's not the version that you get on most albums. It's a mixed version by Jellybean, which has more of a rock guitar feel to it, often referred to as the alternate mix. So that's an item you'd want to get your hands on. It's the only country to feature it that way. Now, this is Angel released in the Philippines. As you can see, there's the first pressings of Angel in the Philippines. It came with Angel on both sides of the album, of the record. One includes the edit version and the other one the 12-inch mix. This is the first initial pressing, as you can see there. But when it came to Into the Groove being issued around about the same time, they hastily put together another package which has Angel with Into the Groove added. So the same sort of thing, Angel on one side, Into the Groove on the other side, and this is the alternate version. And once the movie had become really popular and huge, and the single Into the Groove had become pretty big, the Philippine record company decided to press an alternate version of Angel Into the Groove, this time flipping the two, so Into the Groove was the A side, Angel being the B side, and highlighting the fact that it was the single based around the movie Desperately Seeking Susan. In fact, it was referred to as an extended play, the Desperately Seeking Susan EP, by Philippine collectors or dealers. And this is a nice item, so very unique. You'd want to go for the black vinyl version, not the coloured vinyls. The coloured vinyl versions are counterfeit bootlegs made by people to just make a quick buck. So the ones that are genuine are the black vinyl original versions, and to try and find those in great condition is going to be a little tricky because those items are a little difficult to find. This is a Taiwanese pressing of Into the Groove, which features a mix of or selection of some of her singles, and it's a nice cover, a little different to everywhere else, and referred to as the long mix and soundtrack, but it features Into the Groove and based around that more than anything. Here's the Desperately Seeking Susan soundtrack. Now, this is a record that features both soundtracks from Making Mr. Right and Desperately Seeking Susan. Both films produced by Susan Seidelman, who also produced was the director of Desperately Seeking Susan. This is not so much a soundtrack in that it features songs that appear in the movie, unfortunately, But what it does feature is the sound score, all the tracks that were used as ambience or to create a bit of drama and effect in the movie. Nonetheless, it's a great picture sleeve. It is official and it's a nice item, so it's worth adding to the collection. This is the Italian pressing of Into the Groove. So they released Into the Groove in Italy with a nice little mention of the movie, Italian translation there. This is the Venezuelan Madonna mix. So the South Americans were great at compiling some of the greatest hits of Madonna and putting them together and creating their own cover designs and their own mixes. In this case, this was all the tracks were mixed in together, so it's a nice item. It is an official item, and these were quite collectible as well, purely for the fact that they have a different sleeve design and released in smaller quantities in South America. This one being the Venezuelan pressing. You want to try and find them in good condition too. Most items from South America don't surface in great condition. They've been played to death, and due to the climate there, wouldn't fare very well with the weather. Into the Groove, UK. This is where I mentioned it was released in the UK as a single in its own right. This one includes a free poster, which is now very hard to find. It was released at the height of infamy, and obviously of the release of Desperately Seeking Susan, creating a lot of hype. So these flew off the shelves quite quickly. A lot of the teenage fans wanted a poster, a Madonna poster, on their wall, and this would have been one of the items that they were able to do that with the initial pressings that were issued. So you want to try and find one with the original poster if you can when you go for the Into the Groove 12-inch in the UK. Another fine example of a EP. It's a compilation of some of her great hits. Once again, beautiful, unique design. They tend to title things the way their own title in South America. This one is the Argentinian pressing called the Dance Mix, and it features Into the Groove as well. So this was quite a nice item. Once again, you want to try and find one in decent condition. They do turn up every now and then, but they're pretty scrappy. Now, one of my most favourite items in all of her collection would have to be the Over and Over 12-inch. This is a true example of a rarity in the fact that it is a unique design and released in pretty much only one country in the world. Italy released Over and Over as a 12-inch and 7-inch in its own unique picture sleeve. The Philippines did release it as a 7-inch single, but it was Italy that released it with beautiful picture cover design. And as you can see, it just looks incredible. It has a translated Italian information. These include the poster. Now, this is quite difficult to find in great condition. They didn't make plenty of these at the time. There aren't too many circulating, and to try and find one in great condition is a bit of a task, and it will set you back quite a bit of money. But you can see it's just a beautiful item, unique in the fact that it's a unique picture sleeve, and it's also released only pretty much in that country, Italy. This piece was an item that took me quite a while to find, especially in this condition. Now, I wouldn't bother going for the coloured bootleg or counterfeit versions. Once again, they're not the authentic or true rarity, in the sense that these are Warner Brothers pressed or Sire pressed items, and these are the ones that are going to hold their value in time. So you want to try and collect one of these black vinyl versions, especially with the original poster if you can. It's a showpiece in a Madonna collection for sure, and very collectible, very popular with Madonna fans. Dress You Up, another item that's quite nice. This one in particular is the Japanese pressing of Dress You Up. This one was a little different in that it featured an extra track on the B-side, so it had a couple of mixes of Dress You Up, a song Shoo-Doo, and an extra track called Ain't No Big Deal. Now, Ain't No Big Deal was meant to be originally on her first album, was left off that album in the end, and was nowhere to be found, and could not be tracked on it. It could not be found on any other album or any other Madonna album. Was originally intended to be the B-side of Everybody, but that didn't happen. In the end, it was rejected, and this was the only way fans could actually get to hear the lost track Ain't No Big Deal, which was intended for that first album. So this piece, this item is quite collectible in the fact that it is the first time Ain't No Big Deal appeared officially on one of Madonna's records. You want to try and find it with the original Obi strip, of course, and it's a nice design. Both back and front designs are quite nice, and it does borrow the same design as the US pressing. As you can see, the US pressing has a similar design, but it only includes Shubidoo, Dress You Up in Shubidoo. So you want to try and get the Japanese version if you can. Another nice rarity for Dress You Up is this great Philippine version. This once again has a unique picture sticker. It's a 12-inch mix of Dress You Up, which is featured on both sides of the vinyl. There's the record itself, and you do want to try and find it in good condition. Once again, these are becoming increasingly harder to find in the condition that you see them here. I was lucky enough to source them from someone who actually took care of them. There's the Australian 12-inch of Dress You Up, which is pretty much the same as the US. Then there's the UK limited edition special poster bag. So this sleeve actually folds out to be a poster. So it's a double-sided poster. It's a great design. The record's been taken out purely because I didn't want to buckle the sleeve. You'll see that some of these, if you do find them nowadays, are pretty tatty and have a lot of buckling and ring wear purely because people have kept the records with it. I took the record out as soon as I got my copy just to keep it that way, and you can see that it is a little difficult to be able to keep these in good condition, being that it's a fold-out poster bag. There are two versions. This is the original version and the rarer version. You can see that the Dress You Up released in the UK also has its own unique cover, but and as well as the poster bag being released, the back covers are different. So the second version that was released was a standard style picture sleeve without a poster, and both of them feature different backs. So the poster edition has a little promo for the Virgin Tour, whereas the standard edition has a promo for the video clips called Madonna EP. So there are a couple of items you want to track down and add to your collection. And there's also the Portuguese 12-inch of Dress You Up. The difference of that is pretty much some difference here. It says maxi single there, it says specially priced maxi single. The record itself is pressed in Portugal, so it's a little different, but it's a fewer versions of those were released in Spain and in Portugal, so the pressings of Dress You Up in those countries are a little harder to get as well, as opposed to the American pressings, which are in abundance. So I hope you liked the video, the Life of Virgin 12-inch singles. Now stay tuned because I will be back to post more.